Okay, so the Cheerios cereal brand is under fire. They were trying to do a good deed, but it turns out they did a bad one instead. They're under fire for sending out billions of potentially disease-spreading seeds in an attempt to help save bees from extinction. Now, we've covered this on the Fowler Show time and time again. Rich and I have talked about it. Tamara and I have talked about it. The bee population in the United States is not doing well, and because of the way that our ecosystem works and the fact that there is a lot of symbiotic relationships in the way that bees help plants pollinate and spread and grow, this is a big deal, and it's the start of a larger problem. So the brand recently announced that it was going to help combat that problem by mailing out free wildflower seeds as part of its Save the Bees campaign. So on paper, this seems like a good idea, right? Bees have more habitats, more flowers to help move the pollen and nectar around.
And where were they mailing these seeds to?
Who?
Yeah.
Anyone who filled out on the back of the box of cereal.
Gotcha.
So the seeds once planted were meant to provide more nectar for the declining bee population. But as of this past Friday, Cheerios sent over 1.5 billion seeds into the world. Okay, so here's the problem. Some of these wildflower species included in the packet of seeds can do serious damage to various ecosystems in the United States. The packets contained around 20 different species of seeds, including some, and this is where the problem comes in, that are banned in certain states because they can take up all the space and use up all the resources. They can also spread disease and could be detrimental to plants and humans. Now, we call this an invasive species. So there is not one size fits all when it comes to just propagating random seeds out in the wilderness. You can't do that. There are reasons that over hundreds and thousands of years, ecosystems evolve in certain ways, and there are certain spaces for each type of plant and animal, right? When you introduce something that was, in check in another ecosystem, all the way across the other side of the country, it can ruin everything, which can actually contribute, believe it or not, to more problems like the one we're seeing with the bees right now.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
So it's a freaking mess right now. What do you think?
Oh, here's the thing. I give the Cheerios company, General Mills.
It's a great idea. They just should have done their research.
I give them a bravo for the idea.
One clap.
One day, one clap. They don't get two. But because I think there's something to be said about, come on. Did you not have your scientists say, are all of these going to work? Or why don't you have
when they procured 1.5 billion seeds from wherever you go to get a billion of anything, shouldn't you have asked someone?
Yeah, and one example of the seeds is the California poppy seed that is listed as an invasive exotic pest plant in the southeast. So basically, it's good for California, but it's bad for Georgia, Mississippi, Louisiana, Florida. I'm missing a state there. Georgia, Mississippi. I used to know all. That's it. Louisiana, Alabama.
You didn't say Alabama before.
Oh, yeah, Alabama was what I was missing. So, I think that's, it's one of those things where, it's tough. And, you'd be surprised what's an invasive species, too.
Right.
Because some invasive species have become, commonplace. For example, people know, the mangrove tree in Florida is actually an invasive species. You
wouldn't realize that because when you think of Florida's waterways now.
You think about the mangrove. But mangroves were brought to Florida to suck up the water. Mm-hmm. If we bring these trees in and we plant them, they'll suck up all the water. And it basically, they overpopulated the area and killed all the native plants that live there. And then they, create the check. And nature is really good at checking itself, and sometimes you got to let it check itself. That's why you have a lot of times. That's why you have these things like sometimes, and especially in Miami in particular, in Florida, you have a lot of forest fires, and the forest fires are naturally created, and they're created because there's too much brush, and nature's like, okay, there's too much brush.
We're gonna burn it down.
So, and it, it burns itself down. I'm like, ooh, this is what happens. You just make sure it doesn't get to homes and whatnot. But we've just got to be more cognizant. Our environment is literally teetering on not being there. And so when companies like General Mills, who can afford to have the scientists and can afford to procure the right types of seeds,
right?
They've just got to say, we can afford to do it, and we're actually going to do it. And that's the sort of disheartening part here. Yeah,
and they doubled down after this article and this expose recently came out, and they actually said, we worked with this company called VC Seeds, and they're experts. They field tested it, and it's known to attract honeybees, bumblebees, and other native bees. Now, that's a really good example of like a well-crafted statement that doesn't actually address what people are worried about.
Yeah, because
no one's saying that the seeds aren't effective at attracting bees.
Of course. The seeds are definitely effective.
Screw over all the other plants that you're planting next to it.
Right, and I mean, I think the question you have to ask yourselves, and like obviously we don't have the research in front of us, but I'm pretty sure we had to figure out why the bees are not growing at the rate they were growing before. And I'm pretty sure if you did some research that you'll find out probably a non-invasive species took out the bees.
I mean, at this point, it's still kind of a mystery. The jury's out, but I would not be surprised. I mean, we're doing a lot of messy things right now, and you know, when you start displacing species, bringing species from one area to another,
or disrupting the ecosystem, right? And you could disrupting the ecosystem is a small thing, like people call the butterfly effect. Like, you know, it is literally the butterfly effect when it talks about destroying an ecosystem, and it could be anything from, you know, it could be a natural wildlife land, and you say, oh, we're going to frack just on this part.
Yeah.
But fracking on that part, there might be like billy goats that live up there, and the billy goats then move down to avoid the pipes and the fracking. And when they move down, they trample on, you know, they eat more of one plant than they're supposed to eat, and it destroys the entire ecosystem.
Everything goes out of whack.
Same goes for, you know, I think we're in this Trump administration, you're going to see them considering the re-engaging and possibly drilling in Anwar, which is it's pretty much it's like a wasteland, not a wasteland, but it's like a wilderness. I guess it's just it's uninhabited land. But the caribou are there, and the caribou play a distinctive role in that ecosystem.
Right.
And when you start fracking and you start drilling, and the caribou's like, well, we can't go over to that mile because they're drilling, so we're going to move over here. That can destroy everything. And so we just got to be very careful about when we as humans try to be science and be God.
Yeah, that is well put. All right, folks, let us know what you think in the comments below.
We'll be right back.